Hello and welcome back to TF1C, the Formula 1 chat. Today we're here to talk about the British Grand Prix, the Formula 1 British Grand Prix review at Silverstone. It was a very exciting race. I think it could be race of the season so far.
Definitely.
In terms of drama and chaos and excitement.
Yeah. If you haven't, obviously, I think very similar to what we said in the F2 video. If you haven't, go watch that. If you haven't watched that already, go watch that.
Yeah.
But again, we saw the ability, the talent, the battles on track were fantastic. But again, we also saw the dangers and the chaos of racing. But all round, a good weekend.
Very good weekend. Before we get into it, I do just want to address the protesters, because I don't want to put that right in the middle of the review. I feel like that would taint the racing. But we just want to say, obviously, we condemn the actions of it. If you run onto a Formula 1 track, I know that sounds mental, but that is perhaps the stupidest thing you could possibly do.
Good thing to protest about, I see your point, but do not run onto a Formula 1 track.
You know, marching outside Parliament.
Go do that.
Do it. Putting your banners up. Peaceful protesting. Brilliant. Sitting on an F1 track.
Trying to kill yourself and others by walking on an F1 track. Terrible idea. And if it wasn't for the red flag, that would have been very bad.
Yeah, they'd be dead.
They would be dead.
They would be. I mean, if the halos and red flags didn't exist, we would have seen 7 casualties. And I mean, obviously the drivers didn't deserve it, but those plebs on the track would have. No. I mean, no one deserves to die. But why would you go onto a Formula 1 racetrack?
I mean, you're just asking to be injured there. You're asking to be hurt.
You're asking for a massive piece of metal travelling at 200 kilometres per hour to smash into you.
Or you're standing over a banner in your hand.
Not even standing, they sat down.
Yeah, even worse.
Anyway. So annoying. But yeah, I didn't want to take the Formula 1 because it was such a brilliant race. So I wanted to get that rant out of the way before we get into the racing. But yeah, if you are going to protest, do not protest in a Formula 1 race.
We'll go through the weekend, obviously, and then we'll talk about things when they come up.
FP1, short review. It rained, no one did anything.
Bottas topped it.
Bottas was quick in the wet. He loves a bit of rain.
P2, practice 2 it was Sainz, practice 3 it was Verstappen. Anyway, no one cares about all that.
Quali then. Such a bit of a strange session.
Q1 was standard, Aston's out, Haas out, they really struggled in the rain. Albon though, with the new Williams upgraded package, he
picked
struggled.
by the old package, and Latifi
through to I'm going to spoil it now, Q3.
Because obviously, it was wet, wasn't it?
It was wet, yeah.
So that was the big thing, because it was dry at the start of the session, so anyone who messed up their lap in Q2 was out. So that included Ocon, Ricardo again,
Bottas and Gasly. Zhou Guan Yu out-qualified his teammate again, which is great for him. Yeah. And Latifi through to Q3 was a great result. But I guess, round out top 10?
Well, I was just going to briefly mention, obviously, Max Verstappen was definitely deserved pole. I mean, there's no other way you can look at it. Should have been on pole.
Leclerc caused yellow flags.
Leclerc, going for a little cheeky spin. Got Carlos Sainz, his first pole in Formula 1. Verstappen P2, Leclerc P3.
Similar to his good friend Lando Norris in Russia, Sainz took his first pole in Formula 1. Verstappen shared the front row of him, the old Toro Rosso teammates on the front row together. It was checkerboard of Ferrari and Red Bull with Leclerc 3rd, Perez 4th. Hamilton took 5th at his home Grand Prix. Lando took 6th at his home Grand Prix. Alonso 7th, decent for Alpine. Russell had a difficult weekend, a very tough weekend for him in the rain. He's not, he's alright. I think he's so good in the rain, but also he's not done well. And then Zhou Guan Yu took P9, good result for him. And obviously Nicholas Goat Tiffy with what a lap to put himself in P10.
Yeah. And then on to the race. So, race start. One of the most scary racing incidents, like crashes we've seen in recent history. Of course, we've had Grosjean. That was obviously horrific.
Yeah.
Very hard to watch there. But this one was almost worse because you didn't see what happened.
No.
They didn't show any of it.
Grosjean, we saw.
It's very obvious. Obviously,
we saw the fire.
Yeah.
But the main
huge explosion was obviously very worrying. But the difference is we could see what was going on with Grosjean a lot clearer.
And we saw.
But they didn't show anything from
Grosjean
show
got
and
out
stuff.
early, and we saw Grosjean walk out the fire.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very, very anxiety-inducing few minutes. But Zhou's was a longer period of time, definitely. I believe, before they announced anything.
I want to say a good 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he was trapped. And I think what made it worse was the fact that there was also 3-4 other cars all out and around the track, which made it look like a worse incident.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the incident because it was obviously a big point of the race. So George Russell, as much so they've not given penalties out or anything, I think that's fair. I don't think you can really penalise anyone, but if you are going to lay blame on anyone, it is George Russell. Didn't notice face, but I think this. I mentioned it briefly in the F2 vid, but the bogging down of drivers on the start is a huge problem at Silverstone. Because you just had all these drivers so close, it was impossible to avoid contact, in my opinion. There's absolutely no way everyone was getting through that.
Well, this is what happened, because Zhou Guanyu and Russell both bogged down. Latifi took the gap, saw the gap, went through, got through, that's fine. Gasly tried to follow him, and Russell didn't see him. So
Russell comes across to the left. He then gets hit by Gasly because he's driven across him, and George goes left into Zhou Guanyu, and the contact flips the Alfa Romeo over, and he goes upside down, skidding across the whole circuit, and then the gravel flips him up and over the barrier. It was an absolutely horrific incident.
Over the tyre. Well, luckily, the catch fence caught him. That's the whole point of the catch fence. It caught him, saved the thousands of spectators in that stand.
Without the catch fence, 20 people are dead there.
Including Zhou Guanyu.
I mean, it says a lot about the safety in Formula 1 now, that a bloke can be flung upside down, driven at like 100 miles an hour across stone and gravel, flipped in the air into a fence, and land between a tiny barrier and the tyre wall, and walk away without an injury.
Not walk away, but I see your point. He's fine.
Yeah. He's not obviously, once he scrambled out the car, he didn't just like stand up and he was fine. But he could walk away. He walked away to the medical room. Was fine. He was stretched off, to be fair, but no fractures and stuff. And then we saw it just at the end there, before the podium, that he was walking around.
Okay.
So I mean, it's absolutely insane, the safety. So, the biggest respect to those at Formula 1 whose life is devoted to making sure this sport is safe for everyone who competes.
The main people, we saw Dr. Ian Roberts with Grosjean as well, who literally just walked into the fire to help him get out.
Yeah.
And then again with Zhou Guanyu and the extraction team to get him out.
Yeah, brilliant job by everyone involved.
Definitely.
Especially considering they had to send some marshals running around the Wellington Straight to pick up the blokes who decided to sit on the track at the same time.
Exactly. So fantastic work. Glad everyone was alright. Obviously, Alex Albon as well.
I was going to say, let's mention the other parts. Russell, I mean, big controversy there. Do you think he should have been allowed to race? Basically, he got out of his car to make sure Zhou was okay, to go over and see if he could help. He couldn't. Obviously, he's not going to pick up the car and get Zhou out, so there's not a lot he could do. But he tried to help, and then, because his car wasn't starting, they took the car away, and then he shouldn't have been allowed to compete. Do you think he should have been allowed to compete?
I agree with what Martin Brundle said on Sky Sports, was that there's two things. A, he couldn't get his car started, and he ran back to the pits. So technically he went back into the paddock, which could signal the end of his race. And also, even if he had got the car started, I think he would have struggled to get round without, because he didn't have because he wasn't even punctured the tyre. He'd have struggled to get round on 3 wheels.
Yeah.
Because even if he had got round, that rear left, that would have messed up that rear left suspension and the wishbone, because he'd just been dragging that along the ground the whole lap.
It does open up the debate, because I know that they used to have it in Formula 1, a third car. Should there be a third car in the case that if your car is damaged by another, you're allowed to enter the race at the back of the grid in a new car? In the backup car.
I think it was red flagged, yeah. Obviously, safety cars is a little...
Well, of course, you couldn't. You'd be so far behind the lead lap. But if you're punted into a barrier, there's a red flag, and you're okay to still compete, should you be then allowed to... Should there be a third car there for you to hop into?
Obviously, like Zhou Guanyu, he wouldn't have hopped into a third car and got going.
Obviously, yeah. And Albon, who was taken to hospital, he's still not been... He was then sent to hospital for further checks. He went to the medical room, he's gone to the hospital. Yeah, so I imagine some fractures and stuff there, because he got badly beaten. The focus was all on Zhou, but he got hit 4 or 5... I think it was 4 different drivers.
He puts him straight into the concrete barrier.
2 motions of contact there from the back and the side. Then then Ocon on the left hits him right into the path of Tsunoda, who hits him back left. It's a lot of motions. The body cannot handle that, and a lot of heavy contact. Heavy contact. If you see the videos.
At that point in the race, we lost Russell, Albon, and Zhou Guanyu.
And then Ocon and Tsunoda could continue, but they were trampling around because it was Ocon who drove past the protesters, which makes it even more dangerous because he only had 3 tyres. Yeah. So it's very possible he could have skidded into the many marshals that had to be on track at that moment as well.
Everyone was okay, luckily, and we did get back racing.
But I mean, it makes sense under the rules, but it was very strange to see that they did the redid the grid.
Yeah, but obviously not everyone crossed the second safety car line.
Yeah.
So they had to.
So they reversed it.
But this time, Sainz stayed ahead.
It was very, very aggressive from the start.
Yeah, nearly put Max in the pit wall, and then Leclerc was very lucky not to damage.
I was going to say, worse than he did. Yeah. He bounced over that curb into Perez and almost into Max and co. Yeah. Got past Perez, obviously, and then he was trying to go around outside of Max at Brooklands, and that didn't really work for him.
And had to pit, which we thought probably ruined his race.
Well, I thought race over, Perez is out, but we'll get on to him later. So that left Carlos, Max, Leclerc. Carlos, under pressure from Max Verstappen, makes a huge error. Max goes around the outside of him. Max, Carlos, Leclerc. Then, I believe it was around lap 15.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Max Verstappen slowing down.
I think he just ran over a curb.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it appears to be. A bit of debris on the bottom of the car. I mean, it's a very small instant to cause that much damage to the car. But he was slowing down. I thought, fuck's sake, the Honda engine's gone pop again. But no, it wasn't the Honda engine. He could continue the race. They thought it was a puncture. It wasn't a puncture, just damage to the underfloor. That caused him a lot of performance
Not
issues.
as bad as we saw in Hungary, but still
No, because obviously half his car wasn't smashed up by Bottas going bowling, but it was significant damage, which slowed him down a lot. So we had Sainz, who didn't have much pace, holding up Leclerc, and Hamilton gaining at a rate of knots after that, because Max Verstappen came into the pit lane. He ended up P6 from at that moment, and then first Sainz came in, closed up to Leclerc. Then Leclerc came in. He ended up just
Leclerc
behind.
Came 2 seconds behind Sainz.
Yeah, just behind Carlos Sainz, and then Hamilton came in, and it was a slow stop for Mercedes, cost him the lead. Yeah.
So we saw back to normal. Sainz, Leclerc, Hamilton,
and then
really much
Perez was there, 20 seconds off. He still needed to pit again though. Norris was 14 seconds behind him. He didn't need to pit, so obviously that would cause problems for Perez. Then lap 50, around lap 50. No, it was only 52 laps. Lap 40.
Yeah, lap 44, I want to say.
Something like that, 45. Ocon peels over, peels off the track. Well, not off the track. He just does it near just on track. Stops his car.
We also lost Bottas and Gasly during that was just retirement. So a bad day for Alfa Romeo.
Pulled to the pit lane, I believe. And Gasly had the incident with his teammate. When Tsunoda was...
And got 5 seconds.
Gasly went around the outside and Tsunoda spun and hit him with the rear. So they were both... That cost them both a bit of performance. But then...
Safety car. Wow.
Ferrari. What a cock-up. Leclerc leading, didn't bring him in,
strategy
which is so strange because they knew they were going to have enough laps. So I don't know what they were doing there. Brought in Sainz, Merc brought in Hamilton, Red Bull brought in Perez. They all onto fresh softs. I thought, I was going to say, well, Norris waited way too long. I don't know what McLaren were doing there. They waited a lap.
And it cost him loads of laps. It was just badly timed.
Fuck Ricciardo. Yeah. The bloke was so far behind. It would have benefited his race more if they just continued him on. At least he may have caught the back of the safety car then. But Lando lost that position, so he lost 2 points there due to McLaren cocking that up a bit.
But what a battle we had.
Indeed,
what a battle we had.
It's so good. So
First,
good. At the top four.
Ferrari, because obviously Leclerc was still leading on the hards.
It hurt as a Max fan to not see him up there, but
still Leclerc leading on the hards. Ferrari tried to get Sainz to back everyone up so Leclerc had a gap. He said, "No, I'm not doing that."
I love Sainz's ambition. Just fuck off, mate.
I'm winning. I'm winning. So Sainz doesn't back off, and this cost Leclerc.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ferrari strategy cost Sainz goes through. Then what a battle we saw from Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Superb racing. That's what we want to see.
It was hard, but
Perez
fair.
got past. Perez then got overtaken. Hamilton, and then Perez got back past.
And then Leclerc got back past.
It was brilliant.
And then even when Perez went through,
Perez got past Leclerc, and then Hamilton got past him, and then Perez had to overtake Hamilton, and then Leclerc overtook
Hamilton. And then when Hamilton's on the inside of Cops with Leclerc, I was worried.
But that was brilliant from Leclerc. The car control to get around the outside there, and obviously not have a reenactment of last year. Interesting.
I think that was lap 1 and we'd end up.
That's the problem. He knew that if Max got away, it's going to be a thing. But again, it's the same turning point of the season as last year. It turned a little ugly today. I really wasn't happy with the Ferrari's defensive movements on lap 1.
I think
similar to what we saw. Desperate. I think the Ferraris are starting to realise if they don't start getting points soon, this championship is they're not going to be in it much longer.
I think Leclerc's more annoyed at his team. They cost him strategy today.
Yeah.
And I think he was
annoyed. This should have been a race weekend where they gained massively on Max Verstappen because he had half a car, and yet they gained 6 points.
Like Ferrari can never get it right for both drivers. They can only get it right for one.
Yeah.
Which cost them. And then when Max isn't there, Checo, great recovery from him to take P2. So Sainz won, Perez second, Hamilton with a podium at his home Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Fans loved it.
Yeah.
And to be fair to the British crowd, they were loud and they were great during that battle.
Yeah, I mean the booing of Max in quali is petulant. But...
Nice of Hamilton to come out and say that was stupid.
Yeah.
But like the cheering when Max was getting overtaken by Ferrari. Like Mercury fans used to hate Ferrari,
and now they love. That's the thing. I think there are definitely Merc fans out there who hate Verstappen more than they love Hamilton. But debate for another day. Yeah. Alonso P5. I thought he was going to get Leclerc. I was disappointed by Charles.
Lando P6.
Lando.
Great result for Lando. Verstappen P7 only lost 6 points to Leclerc in the end.
Car.
Only lost 6 points to Leclerc,
which
he will take, and it's again it's a constructor's gain as well. No, it's not. No, I'm chatting rubbish. Little bit of constructor's loss, but Red Bull still lead both championships.
And Perez gained on Leclerc, obviously.
Yes.
Gained another 6 points.
Big thing, Haas qualified 17-19 in the wet, finished 8-10.
The fact they weren't in the midfield helped him massively.
Also, I was talking about Vettel qualified 18th. He took P9. Mick Schumacher though P8, 4 points. First points in Formula 1.
And to be fair, if it was anyone else in front of him with half a car, Mick gets that move, but Max is just different gravy, so he was never going to get that. But he almost got it right at the line.
I was a bit worried that Mick was going to crash there because he was getting too over.
He was really going for it, but
thoroughly deserves point for Mick, and Magnussen with 1, another double points finish for Haas.
And the first lap went to Carlos, I think.
Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton in the end.
So he got 16.
Oh, yeah.
But again, Latifi finished 12, didn't get any points, and Ricciardo had a stink.
On a weekend where there were 7 DNFs, 16 DNFs, 7 DNFs? 6 DNFs. Ricciardo was 13th.
He's lapped. He was lapped.
Yeah, and he got lapped.
He weren't for the safety car, he'd finished lapped. Absolutely fuming.
Very poor weekend. And on a weekend where Lando got fucked over by the pit stops and still ended up P6. Yeah. Anyway, looking at the Drivers' Championship then. Max Verstappen obviously still leads the way. 181 points now for him. Perez has closed that gap up though. 147 for Checo Perez. That is a gap of 34. So he's dramatically brought that down from 43.
Yeah.
But again, I think Max will be relatively pleased considering his car was
into Austria,
ruined. And
Red Bull will be favoured.
I was going to say, we're going to the Red Bull ring. Max took 2 wins there last year.
I do love how we have Silverstone where Red Bull absolutely hated, and then we go to Austria where Red Bull were adored.
But it's such a different fan like if you look at the crowd at Silverstone, there's no colour for Lewis that you can go, there's the Lewis fans, because they, I mean, if there were, it's Merck's grey.
Yeah.
Or I guess if purple would look amazing, but they don't do that. The Max fans though, all in their bright orange, and the McLaren fans help as well. Yeah. It's just so vivid, and they all bring out the flares. It is just absolutely fantastic to see the support there at the Red Bull Ring for Max Verstappen. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very looking forward to that at the end of this race. At the end of this week, it's a race where Max has a rich history of winning there. Definitely. So I'm very confident we could see similar scenes. But we'll see our preview on Friday. So as I said, Red Bull 1-2 in the championship. Ferrari now 3-4. Sainz is finally past George Russell. All it took was George Russell smashing his car up for Carlos to get out the top 5, and out the points for Mercedes. But P3 was Charles Leclerc. He's now 9 points off Checo Perez, but he has closed up a little bit to Max Verstappen. He is now just 43 points off. So that is a race win and another 17.
That's
18.
Second. So it'll have to be a race win and a second and a fast.
And they'd level up.
With Max scoring nothing in both races.
So still a hefty lead for Max Verstappen over Leclerc, but Perez has started to close up a little. Sainz is 11 points off his teammate. And that's George Russell on 111. He is 16 points off Carlos. Hamilton's on 93. Still nowhere near George's tally, considering he finished third today and George was out of points.
Just quickly on the Ferraris, I think today kind of remind me a little bit of Hamilton-Rosberg between the Ferraris.
Yeah, I think it was because it's Sainz's first win.
Yeah.
Potentially, if we're getting to, say, Brazil,
be interesting.
And Leclerc needs 25 points to keep him in the championship, Sainz is backing everyone in their nan up.
Sainz only 11 points off Leclerc.
He's not. People saying he's out of the championship, but the last few rounds have brought him right back into it.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, he did outperformed in Monaco. Last time out, he got the P2 at Canada when Leclerc was down the order. Azerbaijan, no one scored. So out of the last 4 races, Sainz has outscored Leclerc in all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. Then Lando Norris is 7th. Everyone else has been in pairs so far with their teammates. Red Bull 1-2, Ferrari 3-4, Merc 5-6. Lando is 7th. Daniel is 14th. Quite the difference in performance there. Yeah. He's on 58 points. Absolutely nowhere near the top lot, but I wouldn't expect him to be. He's 12 points ahead of Bottas in 8th. Again, big disparity between teammates, but it's Daniel Ricciardo is more experienced than Lando. And this is Zhou's first season.
Zhou you would have scored points today.
Yeah, 100%. And then he would be, well, he wouldn't be anywhere near Ricciardo yet, but he'd be getting closer to him. And then, so P9, Esteban Ocon, he's 7 points off Bottas. His teammate's just 11 points behind him in P10. So again, I think the Alpines, they're demonstrating how close the two of them are. Haas's Kevin Magnussen is in 11th with 16 points. He's level with Gasly in 12th on 16 points. Another point for K-Mag today. Yeah. Vettel's 13th. Big points for him. He picked up 2. So he's now level with Daniel Ricciardo in much inferior machinery, it has to be said. And then Yuki Tsunoda is 15th with 11 points. Zhou 16th with 5 points. Shout out to Zhou Guan Yu, of course. Very glad to see him.
Yes.
See that he is okay after that incident today. And he can feel aggrieved because I think he would have got at least 2, maybe more points if he wasn't the one involved in that incident. P17 is Mick Schumacher. He picked up his first points in Formula 1 today. He got 4 of them. I mean, when it rains, it pours, but when when the sun shines, it soars. That is not a saying, but I've just made it one.
I don't think there's anyone that could be unhappy with Mick scoring points. I think everyone is happy for it.
Yeah, there's no one that's like proper. Oh, there probably is though, isn't there? There's probably some Raikkonen fans that are furious because that was that Raikkonen Michael battle for years. Alexander Albon is P18. He got jumped by Mick today in just one race, but I mean, that Williams is dog shit. He got 3 points. Lance also on 3 points in 19, and now Latifi's the sole driver with 0 points. He should have got points today, though, realistically. He was so far ahead of those Hasses.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. He
just
disappeared.
He was in 8th off the restart. I don't know how he ended up 12th. Still ahead of Ricciardo, it must be said. Okay, but
that's a good race to end.
By 40 seconds. But
I don't like this anymore.
Yeah. Constructors then. Red Bull, 328 points. Ferrari, 265. A good gap there, but Ferrari did do well to close the gap today. Mercedes, 204 points, losing out to Ferrari this weekend, but I think they could get P2 depending on the performance throughout the rest of the season, because Merc look racy now. I think they are almost on the pace of the Ferrari and Red Bull.
It'd be a bit different.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, well, I mean, you can argue that. You can argue that 3 ways, though, because Perez without damage on that one wins this easy. Leclerc without damage, wins this easy, and Max without damage wins this easy. So
who knows?
You know, if with all of them in the fight, Max wins, because we saw that with without damage, Max was so far ahead of everyone.
It is one of those where you could argue everyone could have won.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, you can say, as much as I can sit here and go, Max should have won, it's so hard done by.
Perez could have, Hamilton could have, Sainz could have.
I think I feel less aggrieved because Leclerc didn't just win really easily. And
Max still got P6. P7.
But his luck at Silverstone is just ridiculous.
Ridiculously
bad. Fourth was McLaren, 73 points for them. Norris has 58 of them.
Okay. Yeah.
Of the 73 points. Alpine, 67, they're fairly split equally. Alfa Romeo, 6th with 51 points. Getting quite close between McLaren, Alpine and Alfa Romeo. I said that would be the three-way battle. The problem is, Zhou isn't quite there yet, but then compared to their teammate now for Ricciardo, so...
Oh, I stopped slandering Ricciardo.
I love Daniel Ricciardo, but he's not been good enough this season. I'm really hammering it home. E7 is AlphaTauri, 27 points. The two of them have had mixed seasons, it has to be said, and coming together today kind of signified that. They've got to watch out because Haas are after them. 20 points the Haas team have got now, and Schumacher's starting to carry some of that load, but Magnussen's got 16 of them, so again... but 2 points behind them, Aston Martin. Haas have jumped Aston, by the way, with that result. But Aston, Vettel can be very pleased with this season. He's picked up 15 of Aston's 18 points, then Williams on 3. Albon is carrying that car on his back when he's not having Vettel smash through his back. But yeah, that is all from the British Grand Prix. We are now 10 rounds through the Formula 1 season. We've still got 12 to go.
And it's back to back. Back to that race weekends.
Yes, we do have Austria next week, so look out on Friday for our previews. Make sure to hit subscribe, make sure to hit the notification bell, make sure to hit like on this video as well so we know you're enjoying the content. But yeah, if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when all our previews go out on Friday. If you enjoy Formula 2, Formula 3 and W Series, check out our previews. They already went out on the channel, so make sure to go check them out. But yes, leave your thoughts in the comments below, all that kind of stuff. And that's all. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.